Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar today. It's entitled Running CONVERGE version 2.3 in the Cloud with Rescale. Rescale is a long-standing and valued partner here, so we are very excited to host them today. Today's webinar will be presented by Zach Smocha he's the Vice President of Product Marketing there at Rescale, as well as Mulyanto Port, who is also Vice President and an Application Engineer at Rescale as well. A few reminders that I'd like to bring to your attention. We have some upcoming webinars here at Convergent Science. We've got Dr. Dan Lee, who is our Vice President and also handles business development at Convergent Science. He's going to be talking about our new version 2.3 and also what's coming down the pipeline, and that's March 24th. Again, you can go to our events section to get a little bit more details on the presentation and also a link to register, as well as an upcoming event in Nice, France. It's the CONVERGE Combustion Summit. Again, you can go there to our event section to register for this event as well. Some really great confirmed speakers and just a nice way to kind of get in the mix of what's going on combustion-wise and find out a little bit more about what's coming in the industry and talk about maybe some best practices with some industry leaders. We also have quite a few upcoming trainings in various locations. First up is Lens. We have training from April 4th through April 8th. We've got several courses going on throughout the week. These are just a few, not everything that we'll be doing that week in our Lens office. I do want to note that the last day, if anyone's in attendance, you are able to bring in your cases and they will work with you specifically on your cases, and that'll be April 8th, that week of the last day of the training there in Lens. Detroit, we've got 2 days of training. This actually coincides or kind of leads into SAE week there in Detroit. And then back in Madison, May 24th through the 26th. And again, all of this information is available on the events page of our website. So I invite you to go there. So let's talk a little bit about the partnership with Rescale and Convergent Science. We've worked with Rescale since 2013. Like I said, it's been almost 3 years. So with us being a newer company, that's a pretty good amount of time for us to be able to kind of have this strategic partnership and work with each other. What it is, it's that you can use Rescale for on-demand services, or if you have an existing Converge license, you are able to run on Rescale as well. They offer customized workflows that allow you to easily run several jobs in parallel. A few other things to note, they have over 30 global data centers. And then if you require local resources, there are platforms available in Europe and Japan. And then as far as job execution, you do go to Rescale's web interface. So you will go to their website, kind of work through their downloads there, set up and submit jobs through their platform. So those are a few things to note. And like I said, we've been with them for 3 years. We have quite a few customers that use Rescale in various aspects. Some of our customers are newer, some of them are existing. But like I said, Rescale has been a great partner. And with that being said, I will pass the control over to Zach.
Thank you, Tiffany. Good morning, everybody. And thank you again for hosting us and the nice introduction. We're very happy to be a partner for CONVERGE for a long time. So let me share my screen over here. Okay, so I think we're going to need probably like 30 minutes, something like that, to cover today's webinar. We'll start with a quick overview about Rescale and the Rescale platform. I will then transition into Mulyanto. Mulyanto is going to share a bit more technical details about the product integration, some really good tips and tricks and best practices about how to execute CONVERGE 2.3 on the cloud. We are then going to switch into a live demo In the demo, we're going to show how to get CONVERGE 2.3 running in the cloud in a few clicks. And then we're going to leave some time at the end for questions. So Rescale was founded about 4 years ago. The two founders were actually working at Boeing at that time. They were working on the 787 wing design. And the challenge they have, like many of the engineers in the market today, is it was very hard for them to find the capacity and infrastructure they needed to run the many complex simulations they had to put in place. And they basically ended up sponsoring kind of like a private cloud within Boeing. So they built all the infrastructure, which was then shared across the team. But when they saw that and when they were done with it, they were kind of like looking into the public cloud, and it was very obvious for them that there is an opportunity with the maturity of the public cloud and the amazing progress in the cloud. There is the opportunity to connect between running simulations on the public cloud and being able to accelerate time to market and ease of use for engineers. So the Rescale platform is hosted on the cloud. It's a comprehensive platform. It's aimed for running simulations. The platform allows engineers and scientists to set up and execute different types of simulation. It's really straightforward, easy to use interface. We partner with a lot of partners, software partners as well as infrastructure partners. We have about 30 data centers worldwide. You can leverage a wide range of different hardware types, including InfiniBand, GPUs, choose as many cores as you want. Mulyanto is going to talk a bit later about kind of like the configurations which are most common for CONVERGE. You not only can run the simulations, you can also monitor them in real time. And we also have an administration portal, which allows you to manage your users, your security, put additional controls about budgeting. And last but not least, if you have local resources to run your simulation platform, then you could actually integrate those and have one transparency dashboard to control all of the resources in one place. So as we mentioned, security is a key thing for us. We have many customers, specifically in the defense industry, in the aerospace industry, which care a lot about security. But the reality is that today security is an issue for almost every customer out there. We have put security as a top priority for us. We took a great length to ensure that the platform is secure and the user information is secure on every step. This means that from the client desktop, things are secured through the data is encrypted over the wire into Rescale, and also when it gets to Rescale, between the Rescale platform and the actual cluster, everything is secured, as well as when you don't use the system with everything encrypted and secured. We also support several security compliance. So some of our customers are very rigorous about the type of compliance we have to support, and we are very happy to do that. You can see the regulations over here, SOC 2 type, and others. And if you have any questions about security, clearly we are very happy to discuss it in more details if needed. I spoke briefly about our infrastructure. And the reality of the world today is that for every customer out there, you have multiple locations, you have multiple teams, and it's not all size fits all. You know, some simulations with CONVERGE would require a certain type of hardware, and some might require a bit more cores. The availability you have with Rescale is to really choose the location that you want, whether it's in Asia, in Japan, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in the US, or even South America. And with that, you can configure the right hardware and configuration which is right for you across the globe. So with that, I'm going to transition to Mulyanto to share a bit more about the product integration some of the REPL scripts, hardware types, and best practices we have for scaling.
Okay, thank you, Zach. So running CONVERGE on Rescale today is incredibly easy because mainly of two reasons. The first reason is because CONVERGE Insights provides flexible on-demand pricing. This allows the customer to immediately start running on Rescale without having to actually go through a complicated process of making an on-premise license server accessible on Rescale. The second reason is our integration of CONVERGE on Rescale. We make multiple versions and builds of CONVERGE available to our customers. Whether it is old versions, we make all the versions available down to version 1.4, and we now make version 2.3 available as well. We also support builds for different MPI types, Open MPI, H2, HP MPI, and Platform MPI. And we even support running CONVERGE on our Windows infrastructure. The ease of use of CONVERGE on Rescale hinges on our easy-to-use wrapper script, allowing the user to run almost all of their jobs without actually having to specify a command. And so for our users, for our current users who currently run CONVERGE 2.2, switching to CONVERGE 2.3 is as easy as selecting a new version. The wrapper script that we've implemented will automatically run CONVERGE in exactly the same way. So our wrapper script runs with a simple command simply called just CONVERGE. It allows the customer to run without actually having to know the environment that CONVERGE runs in. So whether it runs on virtual machines or bare metal InfiniBand clusters, whether CONVERGE runs the same as CONVERGE runs the same as on each kind of hardware without actually having to specify the environment variables, the MPI flavors, or the operating system or hardware types it runs on. We also automatically detect the hardware provisioned by the user. No matter how many cores the user provisions, it automatically runs on all the cores selected by the user. So the user does not have to change the command to do that. We can detect custom or bring your own builds as well. So CONVERGE Insights occasionally supplies its customers with these bring your own builds. And we will run these builds if they are uploaded as input files to Rescale jobs. We detect UDF source code. So if you upload a zip file containing your UDF source code, we will go ahead and build the code into a library for you. And then we automatically reference the library to use it for running your job. So we also detect restart files automatically. So if you upload a restart file alongside input files, we set the appropriate flag on your input file. And so your job will automatically start from that restart file. This allows for a more streamlined restart experience on Rescale and allows you to implement certain scaling workflows, which I will talk about a little bit later on. So to streamline this restart workflow even more, we also provide some functionality to set values on input files from the command line on the fly. This allows the user to not have to upload multiple versions of their input file. They can just programmatically edit values like stop time or certain embedding settings, as well as logging verbosity. So for those people that do want to have a little bit more control over how their simulation runs, we do provide certain options to be passed into our script. I would have to say that 95% of our users run our script without any options being passed in. That's for those who would like to customize the way CONVERGE runs a little bit, they can pass in the following options. So the option that's changed most often is the number of ranks that you run. You can unsubscribe to nodes. This is sometimes desirable if you want to if you are memory bound and you don't need to run on all the cores in the cluster. Another option that's used commonly is running a default build, a bring your own build or a old build. So if you are running a different build locally and you want to run the same build on Rescale, you can tell our script to run a specific build. Lastly, the MPI flavor can also be set. Some of our customers would like to run the same MPI flavor they run internally, so they are confident that CONVERGE will give them the same results, so they can set that using the MPI flag. We've got several other options that users can set as well, such as explicitly setting the UDF functionality, as well as running reduction simulations or specifying a super-based license. To next talk a little bit about the hardware available on Rescale. So as mentioned before by Zach, we have many different hardware configurations available. I have listed here the 3 most popular core types that we have. So the most popular core type we have for running CONVERGE on Rescale is nickel, mainly because it's the most cost-efficient option, and it's available as low as 4 cents per core hour. Our second most popular option is our most performant core type, and that is Onyx. So this is most performant up to 144 cores. It runs the latest. It also runs the latest Xeon Haswell E5 processors. Lastly, we have copper and ivory, and these are bare metal InfiniBand core types, and they perform the best for big jobs that scale beyond 128, 144 cores. And we expect with the scaling improvement in version 2.3 that more customers will start running on higher core counts, and so more customers would opt for the InfiniBand core type. So currently, most of our customers run 16 to 64 cores and models up to 5 million cells. But like I said, expect this to increase with the scalability improvements made in the most recent CONVERGE release. So let me talk a little bit about how to most efficiently run CONVERGE on Rescale. On most of our core types, CONVERGE scales best between 50 and 100,000 cells per core. And so this table shows the recommended core count for different size models. Up to 10 million cells, 128 cores would usually suffice. But if you have bigger models, you can, especially with the InfiniBand core types, you can scale up to hundreds or even 1,000 cores as well. So it's also important to monitor load balance during your job. Load balance is very important for the scaling performance of your job, because the speed of your job is only as fast as your slowest core. So if you have one very slow core, which has to do a lot of computation, you might want to look at how many cores you're running on, and maybe change the number of cores you're running on. So Zach's demo later on will show you how to easily actually monitor your load balance on the Rescale platform. But what about automatic mesh refinements? So depending on your maximum cell settings or your embedded levels, your cell count may fluctuate significantly during your job. So you may start out, for example, with 500,000 cells, but may end up with millions of cells during specific events during the running of your simulations. When this happens, we encourage our users to split their job into 2 or more jobs and scale out your job between those jobs. So to do this, like I said, you can run more than 2 or 3 jobs by actually splitting up your job into multiple jobs. So let's assume that we have a job, there's an event around top depth assembler, during which we expect AMR to dramatically increase the cell count. So what we can do is to run first a job up to 50 degrees before top depth assembler. And we do this by simply passing the end time into the CONVERGE command. So you see the CONVERGE command there, just at the --end time -50. And then we would run this, say, for example, on 8 cores only. So then when this job is finished, we want to scale out to, say, 32 cores. So what we do is we take the restart file from this job, and then we upload it alongside the input files of our original job, which we can on Rescale, we can just simply clone our job. And then we would pass in a new end time and run the job for 32 cores in this case. So this would run our high cell count part of our job on more cores. And so finally, we repeat the same. There's a restart file from the last job. Only this time we run the job to completion, and we would run the job again on a lower number of cores. So having illustrated how CONVERGE is integrated into Rescale, I will now turn it over to Zach to show you how this is done in practice.
Thank you, Mulyanto. So let me switch here and open up our web-based interface. So this is the Rescale Web Interface, which you would have access to if you're an existing customer. Then you probably know it, and we'll show you some latest and greatest. And if you're a new customer, then you will need to go to rescale.com and log in over there. So this is a dashboard where users see their jobs, historical job that they've done, or job which are currently in execution. They can organize jobs in specific folders. They can share jobs with their colleagues across the globe. And in the case of our use case here, what I'm going to do is actually start a job from scratch, just to show you how easy is that. So I'm going to choose a new job option over here. And immediately what I have is kind of like a workflow. And the workflow is very simple. It depends on the customer requirements. In some cases, those workflows can be customized. The majority of the customers of CONVERGE are using the workflow as is, so nothing really needs to be done. And there are a few steps over here. The first step is specifying your input files. And you have 2 options for that. One option is to upload it from the cloud storage, assuming this file was already uploaded in the past, or it was shared with from a colleague of yours. You can just go and access the cloud storage of Rescale and get the file from there. The other option is to just upload a file from your desktop. So in this case, I'm just going to choose one of the files we have over here, and it's automatically being uploaded into Rescale. The file is in zip format. We actually know how to open it and leverage the right files from the directory. But if it wasn't, you could actually see some of the files, or you can just choose to download it or delete it. So this is the first step. Pretty simple. The assumption is that you have the GUI client of CONVERGE, and the GUI client was the one generating those files for you. So I have two options over here. I can either go to the next step from here, or I can just choose the next button. In this case, I'm going to choose the next button. And the next step is as simple as choosing the software which you want to use. In this case, we're going to choose CONVERGE. As Marianto mentioned, we cover multiple versions. So you can see here 2.3. As Tiffany mentioned, we are a close partner with CONVERGE. As part of that, we get access to beta versions and we test them in advance before the GA time. But if you want to choose an older version, you can go and choose the version that makes sense for you. In this case, I'm just going to keep it as 2.3. You can also see the command line over here. Again, the command line is already predefined based on the wrapper script, which Mulianto described before. But if you do want to customize it, you can just click here and add your custom command line. The option over here of validate command, this really means that before we run the job and open up the cluster, we make sure that the command is valid and working. Again, the case of CONVERGE, because it's already predefined, we hardly have any cases of customers customizing the command line. Therefore, you don't really make mistakes on that, but the option is already there, is always there. And the license type, that's the next thing. So we have two options. One is the option of provide the existing license that you have, bring your own license, or you could purchase a license online. That's the option which I'm going to choose in this case. Last thing to make sure is that, if you have a need to always contact us, then you can always contact support through the chat over here. We're very happy to help on that and share a bit more about the support we have with CONVERGE Automatic in the system. So the next step is choosing the hardware. I think Mulianto covered that pretty well. There are multiple hardware choices over here. In this case, I'm going to choose nickel as the option, and I'm going to choose 16 cores. And what you could see over here with the pricing, those are like 3 different options. Instant means that you get the cluster right away, and that's something that if you care about speed and availability whenever you want it, that's the option for you to use. The second option is what's called low priority. This means that if the machines are available, you're going to get them in a low price. We are actually doing some analysis behind the scenes over here, and if this is actually green, this means those machines are available right now. So if you're willing to take the risk and maybe have some delay on your workload, then go with a bit cheaper option. But what we found is that if it's green, it's actually the way to go, because rarely we have any issues with that. And the most common option actually is the prepaid version. This is something that our enterprise customers work with our sales team to have a prepaid option that they just buy some hours in advance along with the software, and that's how they use the prepaid version. So once you configure the number of cores over here, you can see here on the right side, I have a summary of what I'm using. So in this case, I have 16 cores, and you can see the memory and everything like that. So it's pretty simple. And at this point, I'm actually going to just go and submit the job. So the job is calling in submission. What's going to happen right now behind the scenes is that a new cluster is being spinned up, and it typically takes 3 to 5 minutes for the cluster to spin up. So I just want to quickly summarize what we've done. We've uploaded file, we chose the software, we specified the hardware, and the job is running. It's as easy as that. No need to understand to configure different hardware configurations or things like that. Everything is done in the backend for you. So for the sake of the demo over here, what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to open up another job which is already running. I just ran it just before we started the webinar today. I'm going to switch to this job, and it's already live. So Mulyanto mentioned before some of the great best practices and customizations we've done for CONVERGE. You can see the progress over here. You can see the load balancing, which Mulyanto talked about before. And you can also see some of the dynamic trends that you have in the system live while the simulation is running. Last thing, if you have issues over here, you could also decide to share this job. Again, everything is being encrypted, and we actually don't have any access to your workload unless you allow us to access those to help you with tuning them or improving them. And you can choose if you want to go to the CONVERGE Science support or to the Rescale support, depending on your case. But it's all built in and it's all integrated to the system. So the next step is to view the results, and once the job is done. So there are two options for that. And again, I'm going to switch to a different job that was stopped in the past, that was done in the past. So the first thing is viewing the results file. You can see the output files over here. They're all available for you. You could either view them if it's a text format, or you could choose to download them. You can choose to download one file or many files, depending which ones you really want. The other option we have to view the results is using our remote desktop. So the remote desktop essentially is relevant for you for two cases. One is that you want to just make it easy with storage, so everything is just staying on the cloud. You don't have to download the file and manage them and keep them. You can just go and access them with a remote desktop. And the other option is sometimes the file can be a large file, and you want to just avoid the download time for that file. So to start a desktop, you just click this option over here and start the desktop. For the sake of the demo, I'm just going to switch to a desktop that I already have open. So when you have the desktop, you would, let me just minimize this. When you have the desktop, you would you can choose which software you want to run on the desktop. In this case, I chose to run the CONVERGE GUI client. I can do whatever I want with that over here. I can analyze the results with that, and I also chose to install Insight, and some of our customers are using Insight as a post-processing tool to analyze the results. So in the case of this use case, you will just basically have as an input file the results of your run over here and view them on the remote desktop. The last thing which I want to cover on the platform, for those of you which are more of the engineering managers or you're part of IT, you can also view all of the administration of your environment. So administration is aimed for IT teams. It allows them to customize additional security measures, set budgets, monitor usage, set account permissions, and everything else that you can think about. In this example over here, we can see calls that are being utilized, the users we have in the system. This is our demo system here for Rescale. In case of license, if you are using bring your own license, then this is where you configure your license proxy. You do it once and you're done with that. And last but not least is the settings. Assuming you want to limit the total budget that it can be consumed by specific groups or users, there are different platform settings, audit logs for security, different software restrictions. You might want to say, I want to have my team using only CONVERGE 2.3 and not anything else, you could limit that. You can also put hardware filters. Let's say that you only want to use nickel because you decided that you want to be more economically efficient, and you can choose which hardware you want to specify. And there are several security configurations over here, and access rules. The access rules are actually very important. It allows you to specify specific groups and specific users, and then you could use those to specify access for specific projects and specific jobs. So with that, I think I finished the demo over here, and we can open the floor for any questions you might have. So let me see if we got some questions over here. Okay, so we got a few questions over here. One is, how can the user access the hardware in Europe? So if you want to stay within the Europe region, then it's very simple. I mean, you just need to go to platform.rescale.eu and sign up over there. Once you do that, then all of the activity, the jobs, the simulation would happen